So again, with your index finger, or even sometimes I'll do it with my middle finger and my thumb, making sure I have tension here, I have nice control of the hair, not pulling it off the scalp, and then putting my bond under, pulling it down to where I want it, and then I can let go, because now I'm holding it and keeping tension with this hand, and then I'll drop that down to where I want it. And I'll go in and gently heat up that extension. Take my tool off, not pulling it away, and then just gently roll with that bond. Even when I'm sectioning, I have tension. If I don't have tension, then it's hard to get a clean section and you kind of end up with lots of crosshairs. So again, when I'm sectioning, keeping tension, holding it, keeping tension, putting my shield in, keeping tension, and then clipping it down. Any step that I can do to keep that tension, you're going to have more control of that natural hair. And then now, pinching the hair, putting the bond under, pulling it down to where I want it to be, and then just heating it up with my fusion tool. I always want that extension to sit in the middle of the hair as well. I don't want it to be going off in one direction or another direction. I always want it to be as central as possible. So let me demonstrate to you what I mean by that. So I'm going to take my section again. Everything that I've been doing up till this point is going to be the same. And then I'm going to show you what I mean by that, by not keeping it central. So let's say I go in with my extension, but I have it going towards the side. So you can see it's not directly in the middle of that extension. So now when I go to heat it up, it's going to spread too much into this direction. And then when I roll it, it's going to be really heavy on one side versus the other. So you can see that I have a lot of keratin sat on one side and not enough on that side. So it's not coating the hair evenly. If you do that by accident, don't worry, we can rework that keratin. So I'm just going to gently go in and then just rework that bond, heat it up a little bit more, and then I can just go in and re-roll it. So then that way it's going to look a lot more even. Okay, you can see now I've fixed my mistake. Not an ideal situation because it does look a little bit longer than this one here, but it's okay. So now let's take that gripper out and then I'll resection my subsection. I feel like when I section off my subsection, it kind of is about maybe like 5 bonds at a time. You can do them longer if you want. I just always want to make sure that I have, you know, full control of my section size. Make sure it's really nice and even. Okay, happy with that. I'll put my gripper underneath. And then now I'll take my section. Go in with my shield. Clip it into place. I can take my extension, slide it up where I want it, drop it down, and then just go in and heat that up. Push that keratin through, and once I've seen it's fully coated, then I can roll it. Let's do another one. Making sure I don't have any crosshairs. Taking my keratin, keeping that tension, dropping the keratin where I want it, heating it up. So I just tap it and then I push that keratin through. Take my tool off and then just gently roll. Okay, so I'm almost finished, but I do want to open another pack just so that I can kind of work my way to the end of here. So let's open up one more pack, and then that way I can show you that complete row. So this is how they come, and then I'll just take this net off, and then now you can kind of see why they're kinked a little bit, because you can see it's got that elastic around the top to keep it all bound together. So I'll cut that out and I'll just go in and straighten those bonds. So you can see why that is really time consuming. If I had to do that every single time, it would just eat into that install time. So that's why I unbox everything, I unwrap all of that thread around the bonds, and I straighten everything out and cut everything down before I do that install. That way we're not wasting time with these small details that honestly do make a big difference. Okay, so I've just prepped that hair. It didn't take me long, but honestly, anything that we can do to save time so that all we have to focus on is the install, the better. So now I'm just going to take my section and take my shield, clip that into place, take my extension, drop that down and heat up that extension. Same thing, I'll take my section, go in with my shield, clip that into place, making sure it's all nice and flush, and then I will take my extension, making sure that it's all central, drop it down to where I want it, heat that bond up. And then just gently roll it. So now I'm going to again get my subsection. Making sure it's nice and even. And then I'll take my Velcro, lock that down. And then I can continue to work all the way around. So how long are we going to wear our K-tips for? Honestly, that all is going to depend on your client's natural density. So if they have finer hair, it might be 2 to 3 months. If they have medium density hair, you're probably looking at around 3 or 4. And if they have thicker hair, they could probably get away with 5, 6 at the absolute most. I feel like most of my clients, around 4 months is the sweet spot for them. Any longer than that, and then they can start to grow out and they'll snag on everything. It's going to be really hard for you to style them. So I feel like for most people, around 4 months is going to be that sweet spot. What's really important with K-tips is the aftercare. I've had a few situations where clients have come in and they've gone to, get a blowout, or maybe they've even done it themselves, and that hot tool has been on the actual bond itself. And then what happened is it then re-melted the bond, and then all of those little hair extensions have then started to fuse together. So whenever I tell my clients, if they're going to a dry bar or if they're blow drying their hair themselves and styling it themselves, to be really mindful not to get any heat on the point of attachment, because your fusion tool is going to be the same temperature as a flat iron. So that's really important that we're mindful of that. Now, when it comes to aftercare, we're not doing any maintenance on our K-tip hair extensions, because these are a method that will live in the hair for X amount of months, and then once the client is ready for their new set, we go in and we remove them and we put new keratins in for them. I always get asked a lot about retipping, if it's something that I offer. And right now, it just doesn't make sense for me to retip them. I feel like if I was someone that did want to retip the extensions, then I would have to hire someone specifically to retip, especially if that client wanted that service done all on the same day. For example, they wanted a removal, a retipping, and a reapplication. Also, when you price it up in your head, you're not saving thousands and thousands of dollars. It might be hundreds of dollars. So again, does it make sense for your business? If it does, then definitely go ahead and retip. If it doesn't, then you just offer a new set every single time. When your client is caring for their keratin tip hair extensions, they have to make sure that they are brushing them every single day. And as those bonds grow out, what you want to do is you want to go in and start to separate these bonds like this. That's because your natural shed is going to get stuck within that bond. So usually, we shed, let's say 100 hairs a day. We're not going to notice that as much with our K-tips because that natural shed is going to get stuck above the bond. And then what will happen is you'll have all of these natural hairs that have shed sitting above the keratin extension, and you don't want them to start to fuse together and cause tangles, mats, dreadlocks, all of that kind of stuff. So to make sure that they're not getting tangled and matted, we then want to separate those bonds. So just like this. And your client can do that when they're watching TV, when they're driving, whatever it is. They can separate those bonds to make sure that when they come in, it's going to look exactly like this, but just grown out. Whenever we're thinking of what hair extension brush to use, always give your clients a brush that doesn't have those little balls at the end. Those balls are going to snag on the keratin extensions. So you want to make sure they're leaving with a brush that has straight bristles. Sheila Stotts has a really good one. Tangle Teaser have great ones. Most hair extension companies will sell them as well. So it's important they don't have the little ball at the end of them. Going in again now. I'm coming towards this end now. So now I know that I want to start going in with some of those minis. So I'll probably just do one more full-size bond here, and then I can go in with my minis. So that would be my last full-size bond. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just resection so that I can put in probably like 3 or 4 minis, just like how I did on the other side. Whatever I do on this side, typically I'll replicate on the other side. So now I'm going to get my subsection carved out, making sure it's nice and even. And then I'll get my little grippy, put that underneath. And then now let's cut down some of our bonds. So I've got one here already cut down, and then I'll just cut this one in half. So again, same as before, directly through the middle. We've got our little mini. Keeping the section size the same. The only thing that's changing here is the size of the bond, because we're just density matching. We're not dropping down for density, we're just density matching. Making sure I'm keeping the tension, dropping it down. 1, 2, take it off, and then just roll it. Taking my mini, making sure it's sitting in the middle of that hair. I don't want it veering off to one side. Pulling that bond up, and then then just wrapping it around the natural hair. I think I can do one, maybe even two more here. Sectioning off. Taking my shield. Locking that down. Making sure I don't have any crosshairs. I'll push those all out of the way. Take my mini. And then just eat that bond. 1, 2. Inch away, that's perfect. I'm not going to put any others there. And then that is going to conclude our install. Before we finish, here are some questions that you might get asked by our clients, and it's definitely some of my most frequently asked questions. Number 1 is going to be, do keratin tip hair extensions damage your hair? I always tell people any sort of hair extension method has the potential to cause damage, just like bleach does. It's all about application, aftercare, removal, and of course the correct maintenance. With hair extensions, it's really important that we're choosing a method that's going to work with our client, not against them. This leads us on really nicely to our next question, which is there anything I can't do with keratin hair extensions in terms of styles? So one thing I'm going to tell you is with your K-tips, they're probably going to be the most versatile hair extension method. That's because with your K-tips, you get 360-degree movement. It's not like a weft or a tape where it's up, down. With your keratin, it's going to be all the way around. You can rotate that bond all the way around. You're going to have that 360-degree movement. You also have the capability to do updos, downdos, half up, half down, without having to run the risk of seeing that hair extension. That's because they're an individual and the point of attachment is extremely discreet. Finally, how much are keratin hair extensions? I feel like that's such a broad question, and it's really hard to give someone an exact figure without seeing their hair, because you don't know how many you need to install, what length they want, etc. So what I always say is, for my pricing, I charge $175 per 25 grams. So usually that's around per pack $175 plus the cost of the hair. So let's say, for example, someone comes in, they want 125 grams, 20 inches. I know typically that's going to run around $1,500 for the hair and the install. Whenever I'm giving someone a price, I always give them a total for the hair, the install, the cutting, the blending, whatever I need to do to get them to their finishing point. With extensions, regardless of method, the longer you go and the more packs or grams you need, the more expensive the price is going to be. One more thing for pricing is going to be your removal fee. I always charge for my removals, and that's the only time I charge an hourly fee. So for my removals, regardless of method, I always charge $100 per hour. The reason I do it per hour is because you never know what you're walking into. If your client has looked after their hair extensions, chances are the removal is going to take you no longer than an hour. However, if they haven't and they come to you with matting, tangling, then it's going to take you much longer than an hour. So that's why I charge per hour $100. How long does a removal take? Honestly, it totally depends on how many grams they have and how many pieces they have. I always try and do removals with an assistant, and usually it takes us anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Thank you so much for taking this intro to keratin tip hair extensions. I really hope that you enjoyed it and it left you feeling a lot more confident with your installs. If you do want more, then I have a full head keratin tip course coming very soon, and it's going to be on a live model, and I'm also going to be showing you a full head install as well as cutting, blending and finishing. If you're looking for more tips and tricks with your installs, make sure that you're following me on Instagram and YouTube, XSamHair, and on TikTok you can find me under Extensionist LA. I can't wait to see all of your keratin tip installs. Be sure to tag me. I love seeing you guys grow and my education helping you. Yay! Can you film for me a removal